What is an essential, not so obvious skill in life? Sewing. I don't know why they don't teach this anymore. I have adults in my office who ask me to mend their clothes or sew a simple button, and also sending a letter. The fact that some people don't know how to send snail mail now amazes me. Knowing how to say no politely and assertively. It will save you countless hours and thousands of dollars. Basic computer skills. I work in IT in a call center and it's absolutely baffling how poor people are with computers. It's 2019 people. If you're going to do your job on a computer you should know how to use it. How to plunge a toilet. Fast. Active listening. Admit when you're wrong. Take responsibility for your actions and apologize, if necessary. Especially at work. This will get you so far. This is the thing that makes up people's minds about you. You will almost always be favored if you own up to a mistake, apologize for making it, and ask how to prevent it from happening again. We just cut a guy from training because he refused to take responsibility for any mistake that he made, which we would have been fine with considering he was in training and mistakes happen when you're new. Tact. If a message needs to be transmitted, but you piss someone off with how you do it, they're no longer listening to what you say, just how you're saying it. As a lifelong 40-year-old blunt speaker, I still struggle with this. My entire professional career has been military and law enforcement, which are two professions that are slightly accommodating of this. But I still have to talk to myself in my head before I open my mouth in mixed company. Allowing yourself to say I don't know and I've changed my mind rather than either making things up that you hope are right or doggedly defending a position in the face of changing evidence. Edit. I would also add that another related skill in life is being able to accept both of those phrases when another says them to you. Relaxing in traffic. It's going to happen. You're going to be stuck in traffic. Honking and flailing and freaking out and changing lanes 6 times to get 1 or 2 car lengths ahead doesn't help anything. Learn how to patiently wait. I listen to audiobooks and actually look forward to my commute home. Being gracious when someone is better than you at your thing. I feel like this might go hand in hand with some of these other comments. But be able to admit that you don't know something. It took me a little to get past this, but after being in a healthcare setting for a bit, I realized it could be critical if you're not honest with yourself. Knowing how to fail, by that I mean failing, and not letting it break you, or throwing a tantrum. Also, knowing that failing at something doesn't make you a failure, if that makes sense. Having a sense of humor. I find it useful for when things go terribly wrong and/or ironically wrong. Knowing how to pick your battles. Some fights just aren't worth having, either because the reward isn't worth the effort, or you can't win, even when you're 100% right. Sometimes you need to take less than what you want and move forward from there. Going even a little deeper than that. Learning how insignificant most things are. The death of a loved one. Some upending life event. Sure, that takes time and energy and active attention to process and move past, live with. But some of the stuff that we let affect us on a daily, weekly and monthly basis, ends up just being no more than a blip on the radar in 3 years. And something you don't remember past 10. Stuff going on at work. Argument with a friend or siblings. Car accident. Etc. We let this stuff steal valuable time and energy from us when it's hardly something we'll think about in a few years. In the moment, in the present, it's difficult to view these things as what they are, but you can train yourself to respond to "oh my god, everything's up" with "yeah, but does it really matter?" I usually do this by asking myself what is the absolute worst case scenario here. The answer to this usually is not half as bad as your brain tricks you into feeling. It just takes consistency and practice. It will save years of life in stress and preserve relationships. And allow you to be more content. Super valuable skill, not something we talked about enough. Being assertive, and not passive-aggressive. Aggressive or just passive. Also being open-minded is a good one to have. Punctuality. I learned this from Craig Ferguson. Less of a skill and more of a realization. Does this have to be said? Does this have to be said by me? Does this have to be said by me now? Try to follow that rule and you'll avoid many pointless fights, soured friendships and blank stares. Knowing how to cook. It's not very feasible to live off of instant food, and eating out can be expensive. It can also lead to a healthier lifestyle, and you have more control over what goes into your meals. Being okay with being alone. To add to my initial statement, being alone is one of the most important life skills you can ever have, because when you surround yourself with people or constantly jump from one relationship to another, it's easy to lose yourself trying to please or fix someone else. When you are alone, you start to understand yourself more, start doing things you enjoy as there is no one else to please, laugh a little harder at movies because there is no judgment, and you really tap into parts of you that make you understand that pleasing someone else at your own expense is not worth it at all. Does it get lonely? Absolutely. But when you are willing to move away from the comfort zone of solitude and spend time with people or make an effort in a relationship, you know it's real, because there is nothing those people can give you that you don't give yourself already. Realizing when some people just want to be left alone. Don't keep pushing. A lot of people never learned how to swim. It's pretty easy to learn, and you don't want to be in a situation where you're in water and don't know what to do, regardless of how likely it is. Just being reliable. It's amazing how far you can get professionally and in relationships by being the person people feel like they can genuinely depend on. So many are flakes. Being aware enough to categorize not only what emotions you're feeling, but why. This is something that may seem obvious, but a lot of people struggle with it, and it's vital for anyone with mental illness. Separating what your depression, anxiety, etc. is telling you from what your rational mind is telling you is key to that A sense of urgency when whatever you're doing affects someone besides yourself. Chewing with your mouth closed. Knowing when to walk away. If the conversation is over, say see ya and walk the away. Standing there for another 30 seconds cause you think it's rude to leave is weird as and awkward. Normal workplace conversations last a couple minutes. Tops. Go away Carol. Learn how to change a tire. Yes, I know about AAA and roadside assistance through your car insurance. But if they can't get to you, you should know how to do it. The ability to make meaningful progress or learn comprehensively about something you have no personal interest or stake in. I hope I unlock this skill someday. Knowing how to speak up when something isn't right. Way too many people have a fear of interjecting or confrontation of any kind. Don't like the way your hair is cut? Tell them, did I f up and buy the wrong thing? Let me know. No one's a mind reader, and your silence oftentimes just makes things worse. Troubleshooting. Knowing how to describe problems and find solutions touches every part of life, not just technology. If you can troubleshoot, you can save yourself time, money, and heartache. Management of finances. I recently had a finance party at the request of friends, since I have a degree in the field and my friends wanted help getting out of debt. You'd be shocked at how many mistakes even very intelligent people are making just because they have no background in how to manage debt or leverage what assets they may have. The ability to see through temporary pain and suffering, whether physical or emotional. A stoic attitude can carry you through to some great places if you're patient. Writing a professional email. It's insane how many emails I get from people applying for positions and they sound like they are texting their BFF. Some level of skepticism and detection. You don't have to have a general negative outlook, but you do need to be a bit careful about confirming things. Mindfulness. And you don't have to meditate every day to achieve it. Mindful activities and practices far extend simply meditating. It does wonders for just about every corner of your life. Speaking well of others. Why? It's not only the right thing to do, but it creates a reality in which you are surrounded by the right people, which is good for your brain chemistry. If you generally speak ill of others, then you create a reality in which you are surrounded by the wrong people. This is bad for your brain chemistry and your relationships. Finding out how to put aside your nice, passive, placating personality when someone is actively taking advantage of you. Knowing when to leave. Obviously, this has a lot of implications. but it's important to know when a situation goes from sketchy to dangerous. One example I can think of for me was a small party I was at after college. I picked up early on that these people were pretty heavy into drugs, which honestly didn't bother me too much. I only smoke weed, but if people want to do some mushrooms or even a little coke, I'm not going to get weird about it. Nope, they were freebasing heroin. Two of the girls there were already super up drunk, and were being encouraged to try it. At that point I decided this was my limit of drug use I'm comfortable being around and excused myself. One of the guys ordered that night. He made it, but it was apparently a show and pretty traumatic experience for everyone involved. Start distancing myself from that friend group after that. My time in the service industry in general was pretty eye-opening to the level of alcohol and substance abuse that goes on there.